We're all deeply flawed. No matter how individually broken you may feel, everyone has their own unruly issues they can't seem to work through. And that's what makes Bojack Horseman so beautiful. This externally goofy show about a B-list half-man, half-horse 90s sitcom actor showcases a cast of uniquely damaged characters who never seem to get better.
I know that I can be selfish and narcissistic and self-destructive, but underneath all that, deep down, I'm a good person and I need you to tell me that I'm good. Diane? Tell me, please, Diane, tell me that I'm good.
This eternal struggle to function in the face of their shortcomings drives the entire series' conflict. That's why I, and many other Netflix viewers, love Bojack Horseman. It helps you feel less alone knowing you're not the only one failing to push away demons. However, while audiences have grown to appreciate most of these characters' imperfections, there's one person that doesn't get the same love as their animated counterparts. And that character is Diane. It shocked me to see the wealth of Diane hate posts that sprung up the first time I scrolled through Bojack Horseman discussion groups. In my curiosity, I dug deeper and made a post asking why people didn't like her. Some of the more general responses included that she's whiny, she's pretentious, and hypocritical.
You're gonna win that Oscar, and you're gonna go up on that stage and give your little speech, and then you're gonna go home. And you're gonna be so miserable you'll wanna kill yourself. And you're gonna have nobody left to stop you.
Through the mist of anger and reasonable criticism, people cited a couple of key examples to explain their feelings. Most notably, they referenced Diane getting angry at Mr. Peanut Butter for commissioning a replica of Belle's library from Beauty and the Beast in their new home, and the time she encouraged Bojack to lounge in his self-pity after crashing on his couch for 2 months following her return from Cordovia. On the surface, these seem like fairly legitimate reasons to dislike someone. I mean, she was kind of acting like a jerk in both situations. But almost everyone in the show has jerk moments. It just feels like Diane continually draws the short stick from the audience. So that's why today, I'm going to address some of the grievances people have and discuss why she doesn't deserve to be the most hated main character on Bojack Horseman. Based on my internet polls, the biggest issue people seem to have with Diane is that she acts high and mighty, and that she's a hypocrite. But first, let's explore the high and mighty part.
I don't think I'm better than everyone.
The way people claim she shows this is through her constant lecturing advice and how she gets angry when her lecturees don't listen. The root of this problem is that Diane doesn't feel appreciated. Not just in her LA life, where people tend to see her as a nobody with pious aspirations, but with her family in Boston. As the youngest of 4 children who wasn't satiated by watching reruns of baseball games or getting drunk, Diane was the black sheep of her family.
No, Gary's the black sheep. He's adopted. I'm just the member of the family nobody likes.
Her parents and brothers used her ambitions and who she was as ammunition to ridicule her, which is best exemplified by the Cryanne videos. When Diane was 17, her brothers created a fake Cambridge boy alias named Leo for her to pen pal with. In these letters, Leo would say,
"Oh, Diane, we're two misunderstood souls. Everyone else is a phony."
Leo eventually asked her to prom, but since he wasn't real, her brothers hired a homeless man to play the part. When Diane realized the person she had grown a bond with wasn't real, she breaks down. Her brothers film it and subsequently watch it for a laugh and to show people. That might just seem like a weirdly cruel prank, but it meant more than just making her believe she made a friend than taking it away in a time when she was severely isolated. Moments like this in Diane's upbringing are the source of her flaws. It reinforced the idea that she doesn't fit in, and that if she's vulnerable and hopeful, she'll be taken advantage of. Through her life, as we can see in the show, people keep pushing those ideals. From Bojack to Princess Carolyn to almost everyone she interacts with. And as Bojack said,
You say something to someone enough times and eventually he internalizes it.
And internalize it she did. So when Diane lectures people, it's not because she thinks she's better than them. She lectures them because she's equally broken. In fact, she's one of the people she's lecturing. Her better than everyone attitude reflects her internal struggle, where she wants to be respected and appreciated but doesn't want to be hurt. This ties into the criticism that she's hypocritical for getting angry at people that don't listen to her advice when she doesn't live up to it herself. To sum it up by unrelatedly quoting Alice in Wonderland, "I give myself some very good advice, but I very seldom follow it." So I originally had a clip of Alice singing that for you guys, but Disney copyright claimed my video. So I decided to say the quote in a British accent because, as we all know, accents can't be copyrighted. I mean, it kind of sucks because I originally wrote the script to perfectly blend in the song, but things happen. Anyway, back to the video. She's not a hypocrite for lashing out at people for doing the things that she does. I think she's aware that she doesn't live up to her high standards, no matter how hard she tries.
I'm a hypocrite. I'm miserable, and I make other people miserable. I don't know what I'm doing.
She pushes her opinions and advice in the hopes that she'll feel like she's worth something and that she'll be able to rise above her issues. But when people don't listen and treat her like an idiot, she gets defensive because she doesn't want to let them know they let her down. She doesn't want to feel vulnerable and exposed, because historically, when she expresses emotions outside of rage, bad things happen. She's a product of her upbringing just like everybody else on the show. Those feelings of self-loathing, the need to be strong, and her search for acceptance and pride all contribute to why she married Mr. Peanut Butter. Leading up to her and Mr. Peanut Butter's first real conversation, Diane received her first article acceptance from a popular website and a personalized rejection letter from the New Yorker. I know that sounds mediocre/bad, but she was super excited about it. Enter her parents and unsupportive, pretentious friends, diminishing her accomplishments and telling her she had nothing to be proud of, as is tradition for most Bostonites and hipsters. But then comes Mr. Peanut Butter. Before learning anything substantial about Diane's life, he was overtly proud of the superficial stuff he knew about her, like waitressing and baristaing.
You barista and cater and waiter? Triple threat. I should be bringing you the water.
Mr. Peanut Butter cared about her. He gave her a safe space to feel open and unapologetic about herself and what she's done. But as Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter's relationship developed, they started revealing their true selves. On the surface, Mr. Peanut Butter supported her ideas and saw her as a capable, ambitious woman. But he also encouraged her complacency. When she expressed what she wanted, he shut her down and acted like he knew what was best. And that's why the library scene at the end of season 4 was a big deal. While on vacation, Diane told Mr. Peanut Butter that ever since she was a little girl, she fantasized about owning the grandiose library from Beauty and the Beast. So before they returned to Los Angeles, Mr. Peanut Butter surprised her by commissioning a replica library in their new home. When Diane sees the replica, she gets mad because she didn't actually want the library. She just liked the idea of owning one.
I called it a bell room because it was magical. And since it was a name that I made up for a room that wasn't real, that meant that it was just mine.
This eventually led to the death of their relationship. The people that took my internet survey went crazy about the library scene. They said Mr. Peanut Butter was only trying to do something nice for her. She didn't say she didn't actually want the library. But the reason they got into the fight wasn't about the library or whether or not Mr. Peanut Butter should have done it. Diane got angry because this was another example that A, Mr. Peanut Butter didn't understand her and what she wanted, and B, that when she's vulnerable and expresses her feelings, bad things happen. I.e., her childhood dreams not living up to what she envisioned as shown by this couch. It reminded her that the one person she thought got her really didn't know her at all. So while all these things make Diane look kinda bad on the surface, her background backs up and explains this behavior, which is very in line with the show's theme. Everyone is a product of their past. And while their pasts are distinct, the character that most closely shares Diane's upbringing is Bojack. Sans siblings. Both Bojack and Diane had broken childhoods where they were told they weren't good enough. This led them into their respective fields to prove they're worth love and to make their parents proud.
You ruined me, Bojack.
I know.
You better grow up to be something great, to make up for all the damage you've done.
I will.
Their actions are dictated by family trauma. They have self-destructive tendencies and hate themselves. And that hate fuels their cynical outlooks. But where Bojack consistently gets a pass as the anti-hero we should feel sorry for, Diane gets criticized for her almost identical faults. So here's the question. Why does the audience give Bojack leeway but refuse to give Diane the same courtesy? Well, I think the answer lies in the one difference I can see between them. And that difference is that Bojack believed the things his parents told him, but Diane didn't.
You come by it honestly, the ugliness inside you. You were born broken. That's your birthright.
For most of the show's run, Bojack accepts he's worthless and broken and shitty. He doesn't shut up about it.
You know, sometimes I feel like I was born with a leak, and any goodness I started with just slowly spilled out of me, and now it's all gone, and I'll never get it back in me.
Diane, however, doesn't accept it of herself. She constantly works towards being a better person and proving she isn't the worthless pawn her family told her she was.
We're all just guys who do good stuff sometimes and bad stuff sometimes, and all we can do is try to do less bad stuff and more good stuff.
She refuses to ask for help and struggles to maintain this strong persona to convince people she's a rock. But since no one can live as a rock that doesn't need help, she burns herself out. So where Bojack will openly admit his issues, run away as a form of self-care, then return as the same person with less emotional stress, Diane doesn't allow herself the time to be herself.
Be yourself.
She keeps going until she breaks. We give Bojack a pass for being a jerk because he shows vulnerability and accepts he sucks. Diane doesn't. So we see her as a whiny, curmudgeonly hypocrite as opposed to a shattered human trying to control the voices in her head telling her she's not good enough. To explore this deeper, let's look at a case study scene everyone loves to cite for why they hate Diane. Bojack returns from New Mexico to find Diane wallowing around his house after coming back from war-torn Cordovia. So what does he do? He follows her lead. Both characters are dealing with their own demons in the same way. But people on the internet blame Diane for pulling Bojack down with her because Diane's supposed to be better than that. But the thing is, she isn't. She just does a better job at masking her problems in public. That is until Cordovia, where she's smacked in the face with the realization that nothing she does matters. She's still the same useless person she was made to believe she was because she couldn't help the people she went down to help. Diane hiding from the real world in Bojack's house is the first time the audience gets to see her be completely vulnerable. And what do? We push away the meaning of the show and shame her for it. So going back to my main mission to defend Diane. Yes, she has negative qualities. She is hypocritical, angry, and doesn't show vulnerability. But everyone else on the show has their problems too. Which goes back to why I think people like the series. It makes you feel less alone knowing you're not the only damaged person in the world. But out of all the main characters on the show, Diane is kind of the only one that actively tries to do anything about their issues. And therein lies the reason for people not liking her. While Bojack and everyone else makes the audience comfortable with being broken, Diane makes the audience uncomfortable that they're not doing anything about it. And that's my defense of Diane. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Ariana Alexis, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!